The secret to success isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things consistently. So if you're committed to continually improving yourself and achieving those goals that seem to always elude you, in this video, I'm going to walk you through a proven process. There's 7 specific steps I'm going to walk you through on how to structure a goal system that will actually work for you as an individual. Here's the thing, none of us want to be stagnant, right? We want to grow, we want to improve, we want to evolve and get better in not just one area of our lives, but across the board in multiple areas. And over the years, I've studied various goal setting systems, success systems, and what I've compiled together is a 7-step process that I follow each and every year. And this process has made profound impact on my life and the lives of those that I've shared this simple 7-step process with. So if you're ready for that, let's dive in. Hey, this is Wayne, founder of Ugly Mug Marketing and creator of the Agency Accelerator. And in this video, I'm excited to share with you the 7-step process that's going to help you actually achieve the things that you set out to achieve. So I'm recording this video at the beginning of a year. It's January. And what I know is that so many people go into the year with big ambitions, big goals. And maybe that's you. Maybe this is your year, right? You're committing to make this year the year that you transform your life. The problem for so many is we start the year with strong ambitions, with resolutions, and with goals. And because we don't have an underlying system and process, those goals tend to fall by the wayside when our feelings and when life, the pressures of life, seem to compound against us and against what we've set out to do. The beautiful thing is that with this simple 7-step system that I'm going to walk you through, it's going to help you achieve far more this year than you've ever thought possible. So without me just rambling on here, let's dive into how do we actually begin the 7-step process. So step number 1 is you have to begin by getting clear about the vision that you want for your life. And then we need to uncover your values. What is it that drives you? What is it that motivates you? You see, this is different for every person. What drives you, what motivates you is very different from what drives and motivates me. For example, for years, I had this goal of increasing my personal income. And year after year, I would set this big goal. I'd break it down into steps. I would do all the things that the gurus, the books, the authors would tell me to do. And year after year, I never seemed to accomplish, never seemed to make progress on that goal. And the reason was this, I uncovered in my values that money was not one of my top values. Actually, it was way down the list of values. So I kept setting this goal to make more money, to have more personal income, and yet it actually wasn't a value for me, right? You see, I looked around and I thought, you know what? Making more money would be a worthwhile thing. It'd be a great thing to do, but yet it wasn't something that I value. So for you, what do you actually value? What are the things that drive you? What are the things below the surface that motivate you? For me, a big part of what drives me is creating unique experiences, creating remarkable experiences. That is a top driver for me. So when it came down to either doing something that created a remarkable experience or paying myself more money, I would often opt to do the remarkable thing, right? I would often opt to spend my money in such a way that it created a remarkable experience for other people. That was a value to me, but it wasn't until I uncovered this value that I could actually start making progress towards my goal of increasing my income. You see, you can't improve something that you truly don't value. So look down in the description if you need help or need guidance on uncovering your values. I've got a link down there to a resource that you can walk through that will actually help you uncover your core values, what motivates you. And then the other one's the vision. What is the vision that you want for your life? In other words, where do you hope to end up at the end of your life? Not just this year, not just this quarter, not just this month, but where do you want to end up at the end of your life? Now, there's a great book that I highly recommend you check out. It's called Living Forward by Michael Hyatt and Daniel Harkavy. One of the exercises in this book is where you actually write your own epitaph and you write your own eulogy that's going to be read at your funeral. So it forces you to think through what are the words, what are the descriptions that you want other people to say about you when you're gone. You see, this vision for your life matters because it ensures that we stay on the right path in the right direction with the goals that we're setting for ourselves right now. So step 1, let's get clear about our vision and our values. Now for step 2, we have to understand that there are 2 primary types of goals. And again, I've seen people mess this up because they think a goal is a goal, right? I'm going to set a goal and it's a goal and I'm going to achieve the goal. I'm going to work towards the goal. But the reality is there's two different types of goals. So for step number 2, we have to acknowledge that there's two different types that we're going to pursue. The first one is what I'm going to call a habit goal. Those are your habits. And then the second one is achievement. Sorry, you can't read my writing, but achievement. So habits and achievements, those are the two different types of goals that you're going to have as you start compiling and building out your list. So once we're clear about our vision for our life and our values, we want to figure out what are the habits that I want to establish and what are the achievements that I want to do over the next year or accomplish over the next 12-month period. So that is step 2. Again, we have to acknowledge there's going to be habit goals and there's going to be action goals. Now, let's look at number 3. Step 3, here's what we want to do. Step 3, we want to focus on our habit goals. And what you want to do is you want to think through 12 months into the future and you want to envision the type of person that you want to be at that point in the future. So imagine yourself in your relationship, imagine yourself at work, imagine what your personal life looks like, imagine what your mental, your spiritual, your physical life looks like. What does that best version of yourself 12 months in the future look like? And then ask yourself, what are the characteristics of this future version of myself? In other words, what are the defining traits of this future version of myself? So step 1 is we have to lean into that future and look to see who do we want to be in 12 months. Then we have to look for the characteristics. What are the defining traits? And then the final question you want to ask when you start thinking through your habit goals are simply this. What are the habits of this future version of myself, right? Do they get up every day and do they read? Or do they meditate? Do they do physical activity? What does their social life look like? What are these habits? What are the things they do day in and day out that help shape and sculpt the life that they live? And this would be your habit goals. You see, a habit goal, in my opinion, is way more important than an achievement goal because a habit goal determines who you are in the process of becoming. An achievement goal is about achieving a thing. It's about an accomplishment. It's about checking off a checklist. And those things matter. And yes, those things can motivate us. But to me, a habit goal is far more important because it determines the path that we're on and where and who we'll end up being in the future. So get crystal clear by asking yourself those 3 questions. Step number 3 is our achievement goals. So when you think about your achievement goals, we just talked briefly about this. Your achievement goals are the things that you want to achieve. So what we want to do is we want to lean 12 months into the future. And we want to imagine what are the things that we've achieved over the last 12 months. Maybe that is we've achieved running a marathon. Maybe that is we've achieved buying a new house or buying a new car, or we've achieved going on a certain vacation or visiting a certain destination, right? What are the things that you want to achieve? Now, it's important that you start with your habit goals first because your habits are going to determine where you end up with your vision. They're also going to show some of your values. You see, it doesn't make sense for us to have achievement goals that are out of alignment with the person that we want to become. And if we're not careful, sometimes we look around at all these experts, these influencers, and we look at all the things that they're accomplishing, maybe the cars they drive or the trips they take, and we think that's what I want. Those are the things that I want. When in reality, those aren't necessarily the things that you may truly want based on where you're trying to end up for the future version of yourself that you're working to create. Now, let's move on to the next step. So for this next step, what we want to do is, this is actually step number 5. And in step number 5, what we want to do is we want to categorize all of the goals that you've just jotted down, right? The habits and the achievements. And what we want to do is break them into categories. Now, there's not a magic formula here, but I'm going to give you just some frameworks or some ideas that you could use. So there's a physical category that could be health, nutrition, things like that. There could be spiritual. It could be spiritual goals. There could be financial category. What are some other categories, right? There could be mental or learning. There could be emotional. There's so many different categories that you could have, and you don't have to have something in every category. However, I would encourage you to think holistically, right? If every single goal I had was physical, that would be lopsided, right? That would be super lopsided in terms of my development. Or if I had only financial goals, that would be lopsided in another direction. And so for you and for me, we want to be well-rounded, right? We want to ensure that our lives are whole and complete, not lopsided in one area or the other. Because again, when we think forward and we look to the end of our lives, those are the things that we want people to talk about us when they speak of our life and the life that we live. We want to live a life well lived, right? And a whole life. So you're going to break your goals, habit, and achievement into these various categories. And this is going to be important for you because, again, we want to think in these core buckets of a whole person. Now let's move on to step number 8 in this simple process. And that is you're going to create accountability systems for yourself. So number 1 is I encourage you to have some form of tracking. And in just a second, I'm going to hop over to the computer and I'm actually going to show you a sample of how you could track your goals. And it's super simple. It's an Excel sheet or Google sheet, and you can actually create this yourself. I'll walk you through the structure and the format of how to create that. But the other thing is I want you to look around you for other ways that you can bring accountability into your life, whether that is reaching out to friends to help hold you accountable for certain goals, whether that's physical goals, whether that's social goals, financial goals. You can also leverage social media. So one of the things that I recommend is if you have, for example, let's say a goal of running, reach out to a few friends and say, look, my goal this year is to run X number of times a week or X number of miles a week, whatever it may be for you, and say, I'm going to post on my Instagram story every single time I go out and run. So if you don't see a few of those stories from time to time of me out running, I want you to text me. I want you to call me. I want you to say, hey, how's it going towards your running goal? You see, we can create these systems of accountability for ourselves. And there's so much power when we know other people are watching our behaviors. So having an accountability system like that is going to go a long way in helping you accomplish and stay on track with your goals. Now let's hop over to the computer and let me show you the structure of the sheet. Okay, so here we are with my actual goal tracking system. Again, nothing fancy. It's literally a Google sheet, but I just want to quickly walk you through how I use this tool to help me stay accountable and help me make those changes that I want to make throughout the year. So again, over on the left-hand side is where I have all of the different activities or the different things that I'm tracking. And you can see that I have them in categories like we talked about. So we've got physical, we've got relationships, we've got learning, we've got personal, and then we have business. Next to that, you'll see I have a column here that just totals up the figures and the numbers over to the side. So let's just take this first one. So my goal this year is to run 750 miles for the year. And so out here across these top columns are just the days of the month. So this is January, and you can see down here in the bottom, this is the January column. So in February, I'll just make a copy of this and I'll clear the data and I'll start over in February. But what you can see is as I run, I just enter the amount of miles that I ran for that day. So in this case, on the second, I ran 3.14. So I put that in and it gives me a total. Now, I know just based on where I'm trying to get to and what I'm trying to accomplish that in order to run 750 miles, I have to average around, I think, 60 miles per month. And in order to do that, what I can see from this is I'm a bit behind on this schedule from where I need to be. So what it does is it holds me accountable and keeps me on track and on pace. The same thing with the crunches and the push-ups. Again, those are areas that I chose to try to improve this year. And so I'm tracking each time that I do push-ups or crunches, I put them here. Another one for me that's a huge one is stretching. I am probably the most inflexible person in the entire world. And so this year, my goal was to spend 200 days of the year, of the 365, doing some form of stretching. And so I downloaded an app that I'm using to help hold me accountable as well. And then I'm tracking it right here on the spreadsheet. So this framework and this format could easily be copied for you. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be sharing this information publicly on my social media. Now, you don't have to do that, but I do that just as an additional way to hold myself accountable every single month, because I publicly shared my goals at the beginning of the year. And each month, what I'm going to do is share them again so that people can see, am I on track? Am I not on track? And it's honestly not about sharing it. It's not about me bragging and looking like, oh, look at the amazing things I'm doing. It's more so knowing that at the end of the month, I have to publish this information publicly on Facebook, on social media. And so by doing that, it's forcing myself to stay accountable and true to myself. And I have some friends that I've reached out to hold me accountable to make these posts every single month. So again, think through your habit goals, think through your accomplishment goals, and then break them down. The key thing here is make sure that they are very measurable. So if you scroll through this, you will see all of them, every single one of them is measurable. Now, I did remove out the dollars given away because that's private. I just don't want to share that publicly. And the same thing with revenue. It's not something I want to share publicly, but I'm going to be tracking it in this sheet so that I can quickly and easily keep track of where I am in relation to my goals. And this, my friends, is a simple yet profoundly powerful way of making those necessary adjustments to your life and to your schedule and to your habits so that 12 months from now, your life looks radically different than what it looks like today. So let's hop back into the other content and let's wrap this up. All right, so you can see how simple the sheet is. There's nothing complex or nothing magical about the sheet. It's just a form of accountability, and it's a way and it's a method to ensure that you stay on track with the things that you've committed to do, the little small daily actions, which brings us to the final step in the process. And that is this: you want to ensure that you think small. Sometimes when we set our goals for the year or for our lives, they can feel overwhelming. They can feel daunting. But the reality is we just need to think small. We need to think in terms of the daily habits, the daily actions that we need to take that we're going to bring us closer and closer to the future version of ourselves that we're creating and those achievement goals that we want to create. So again, don't allow the monstrosity, right, the grandeur of your goals to overwhelm you. Instead, think small. Think in terms of little bite-sized pieces, the things that you can do to accomplish your goal day in and day out, even if it's one small, tiny step forward, right? Again, it's about the progress. It's about the journey. It's not necessarily even about the destination. And if you follow these 7 steps, I'm confident that by the end of this year, you will be a radically different person than you were when you started this year. You will accomplish so much more than you ever imagined possible due to following these simple 7 steps. So I hope this video is beneficial. Leave a comment below. I would love to hear what you've committed to do this year and how you are breaking your habits and your achievement goals down. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till next time.